Hello, my name is Carrie Barrera, and I am so excited to be able to share the content of this workshop with you guys. This is something that is just so near and dear to my heart. It really is what fuels me every day. It's what calls me to be a bigger, better version of myself. And it is what brought me to a place of deciding to partner with doTERRA as a business. You know, before that, I was excited about the oils as a customer. I did a lot of research into the company because, you know, hey, it was a network marketing company, right? I mean, we all have our old myths that we've heard about, and even some true stories of companies that have really done it wrong. And I didn't want to get involved in that. But boy, when I found out everything about doTERRA, I mean, and I just kept digging deeper and deeper. And every corner I turned, I was waiting for that moment when, you know, it all kind of fell apart, waiting for that, oh, there it is. There's the catch, right? I got to tell you, it's been 3 years and I've been looking and looking and looking, and I have found nothing but a deeper, just more profound level of respect for this company. They really do make me, they just give me hope. You know, they give me hope that there are ways for people to have a big successful business, for there to be large numbers of, you know, bottles that are being dealt with, for there to be huge numbers of people to be a part of something and have it still remain good and have it still remain, you know, focused on the goals, focused on the integrity. That really is possible. And man, it just fuels me. Like I said, it just fuels me every single day. So I'm really excited to get to share with you guys all about what it is that I love about doTERRA and the Co-Impact Sourcing Program. Now this class here, this little workshop is not going to go into specifics on each plant, on each region that we do our sourcing in. Honestly, the best way to find that information, there's two. You can go to source2you.com, which is a wonderful resource. You can really dive deep into that program there. There are videos and there are articles and there are just amazing blog posts, everything that you could ever want in that, on that website. In addition to that, or in lieu, if you're more of a just like, hey, let me put on a playlist, hop on over to YouTube. On YouTube, if you go to doTERRA Co-Impact Sourcing, you can watch video after video after video. Each one is specific, for the most part, to a specific plant or oil and the impact in that area. Something I do want to say, though, that I have found, having been on a co-impact sourcing trip and having seen all of this in real life, as well as just being around people and hearing their experiences in different countries with doTERRA, let me just tell you, the information that you're getting in those videos is barely the tip of the iceberg of the positive impact that doTERRA has in the communities that it works with. One of the things that's sort of a quiet, unsaid, I don't know, thing, I don't know what you would call it, is that, you know, you shouldn't be bragging on your, you know, your generosity. You shouldn't, you should give completely just to give. You should support just for support, not for marketing, not for, you know, getting more or having more or being able to reward yourself, right? And doTERRA is a beautiful example of this. The work that they do around the world is profound. It is selfless, and it is completely with the heart of truly wanting to partner with communities to help provide the best. So let's go ahead and dig in now. The first thing is just a little overview of the things that I intend to cover today. The doTERRA difference, what is co-impact sourcing, the source, environmental stewardship, social impact, guiding principles, which and partnerships, really focusing here on Choice Humanitarian. They are just an amazing organization. So let's go ahead and get started with the doTERRA difference. So doTERRA, when it started, really was looking to figure out, sorry for the dings, really was looking to figure out and find what would be the right way. Like, we're all pretty familiar with the wrong way, right? I mean, we deal with it all the time, right? We're constantly dealing with and challenged by people doing things the wrong way, or people doing things partially right, but then there's the other side. And, but what would it look like? Like, what would it really look like if you were to create a company where every person, every step, every stage, from a truck driver to the the harvester, to the farmer, the small farmer, even the big farmer, right? Yeah, what about the women? So many women, constantly being supported by the model that doTERRA has created, on both sides of the bottle, right? On both sides of the bottle. And what if you did it the right way? Well, we all know what that looks like on our side of the bottle, right? I'm living proof of it. It is literally life-changing as a mother of 5 who homeschools her children, to have the ability and the opportunity to start and have my own business without all of the nightmare costs and so on that are associated with that in a typical situation, right? What about the other side of the bottle? What could you do on the other side of the bottle where, if you were going to find a way to do it the right way, how could you leave a trail of positive impact while providing the gifts of the earth to the people who don't really have access to that knowledge, right? Or don't have access to those plants? That would be us, by the way. So how do you help, make a really good impact in lives? What you do is you create something called a global botanical network. And with that, you start to put together the ideas. You start to say, oh, wow, but if you did it this way, hey, and then what if we, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could just imagine, right, how this is all unfolding through the years. doTERRA has put a tremendous amount of passion and time and, yes, money into finding ways to really rely and partner with the farmer, the small shareholder farmers, the small farms, and harvesters, to harness their native knowledge, right, to help us to learn about these plants and why they are what they are and how they are used, but also the artisanal distilleries, right, the people who distill and who really have a powerful understanding of the chemistry and the plant itself, and how it needs to, what exact time should you harvest that plant in order to get that peak level of oil. It's amazing, the genius that comes together on all sides to create what we just open up and drip into our diffusers, or rub on our spines and enjoy so much in our lives. The doTERRA difference really is doing it the right way, if you ask me. It's about purity and pursuit of that. It's also about just the simplicity of integrity. It really is. It's not hard to have good integrity. You just have to be able to hold it up, look at it, and know that you're making the right choices and you're doing it for the right reasons. It's about being debt-free, so you don't have to answer to anyone else. You don't have people, getting you to cut corners here and there. It's the ability and the willingness to fail, or to have things kind of hurt a little bit in the growth process. Maybe they go slower than you want them to. Maybe you aren't able to get all of the oil that you really wish you could, and we end up having it go, out, when it's out of stock. Maybe these are some of the things that are worth it, though, to protect the people, the farmers, the sustainability, the environmental impact. That is the doTERRA difference. So let's take a look at the source. If you're talking about how we source, I think most of us here are pretty aware of the importance of sourcing plants that are grown in a way and in a place where the plant itself thrives the best. Typically, this is going to be where the plant is, derived, like, where it lives, where its habitat, its natural habitat is. But it's really all about finding and helping a plant to be at its best so that it can create the oil that is for us its best. But what if you said, okay, great, let's find the best whatever, you know, let's find the best cardamom in the world. Okay. I'm sure you could find cardamom in a lot of places that have similar climates, with similar situations, with similar soil, so on and so forth. But what if you then laid another layer on top of that and you said, okay, well, let's filter this down and figure out where could we source cardamom where we could actually help the most people too? Where could we source cardamom where we could have a huge impact on the lives of those who are dealing with, you know, extreme poverty, right? Or those who are dealing with problems in their nation, right? That are making it so that they are really being held down from their potential, and where we really have just the ability to help, right? So that is what we're doing when we talk about co-impact sourcing. We're talking about sourcing the best, but helping the most. So that's going to be our first level of filter. And once we kind of narrow that down, right, we're going to get into things like traceability, the ability to know where and how and whose hands in every step and stage of the way that plant has been in before and after distillation, and during, of course. And how do we do that? We do it through relationships. It's kind of like when you have, you know, if you need something watched over, you're going to ask a friend, you're going to ask someone who you have a relationship with to watch over whatever it may be, because there's a trust there. There is a sense of security. There's a sense of reliability, right? And again, integrity in that relationship. And so those relationships are what create our traceability. The ability to say, hey, it went from him to her, to her, to him, and this is where it is. And each of those people we know, we work with, we trust, and we have complete faith in their integrity. And then the process. So this to me is the magic, I think. doTERRA isn't looking for a really good deal down on the docks to get a good price on some oil. doTERRA is going all the way to the source, right? That process, we are a part of the entire process. We are there from the time of the finding of the plant. We are there from then deciding about whether or not this is a good source. We are there through the process of that negotiation. We are there through the harvesting, the planting, the distillation, and we are literally a part of every step of the process. And what does that mean for you and I? A lot. It means that integrity. Again, it means the ability to understand. It means that we have the ability to have, you know, just act like things like being able to look at the bottom of your bottle, right? And look at the code there, and to be able to go and input that right into the Source to You website and be able to get all of the information on the different testing, right? That transparency, that's what being a part of the process provides. It's the ability to say, yeah, I know exactly where that's been. I know exactly what that is. I watched it, or I was a part of, or I know it went from here to here to here. That is so huge for a true understanding of the impact that you're having, as well as, you know, whether that's positive or negative, right? And in this case, we are definitely striving for the positive. Next, we have environmental stewardship. So there's three main parts, by the way. We have our source, environmental stewardship, and then we have the social impact. These are the three sort of spheres, if you will, if you picture like a Venn diagram, right, that are coming together that create, you know, the guiding principles of co-impact sourcing. So when we talk about environmental stewardship here, we're really looking at the ability to ensure, through the sustainability, we want to ensure the longevity of the plant ecosystem, right? We definitely want to make sure that we are helping to supply, teach, and be a part of efficiency in the production methods, right? What we want to also do is be sure that we are paying attention to the environment, that we are a part of making sure that the carbon footprint and any other traceable footprint is as small as possible, especially on the environment of where the plants are being sourced and on the plant itself, right? Then in complying, so of course we're going to comply with the national and international environmental regulations and guidelines. And then preserving, I love this, preserving the native biodiversity. The native biodiversity. So we are never going to source so much of a plant that we change that microclimate, that we change that biodiversity in the area. We're always going to be sure that we leave the amount that needs to be left in order for there to be, that balance that needs to happen. In addition here, this is one of the beautiful areas of education that we can provide and help with by having people who are, the agronomists, the people who are able to go in and teach about how the best practices for harvesting, so that you don't overharvest, or so that we don't overstress or overtax any type of plant or even that local environment. And then reducing, again, the carbon footprint. A great way that we're able to do this is through bringing people together to work together, so that you don't have the waste of so many people sort of in a small way trying to accomplish a big job. Of course they do that. However, when we can bring them together at one point, we can reduce our footprint and reduce their footprint. And then that training that I was already talking about. Okay, this is what we're going to do, is we're going to train them. We're going to train everybody, including ourselves, including everyone in this process. All of those traceable relationships are going to be trained in the best ways for sustainability, complying, the preservation, and the reduction of our impact, right? So let's take a look at the social impact. Job creation. Job creation is huge, right? What we do is we are going to create new and support existing jobs in that environment, right? In that community. In addition to that, for the small shareholder and the smallholder farms, and then the harvesters and partners all along the chain, including the distillers, we're going to be sure that everyone has a fair work environment, okay? A fair and just, place that is safe, a place that is not discriminating, a place where men and women can work freely and equally. Fair on-time payments is huge, okay? In Guatemala, one of the things that we got to do, which was a really amazing experience, was after a day of harvesting cardamom, we got to walk and go with the people who were the harvesters there, down the mountain and up the mountain and around the mountain, and then to a road. There was a main road. And so at the main road, people would be there with their 100+ pound bags of cardamom. And by the way, if you didn't know this, cardamom, when you harvest it, you really have a matter of hours before it has to be in a dryer, or else it goes bad. It's almost like it just has a very, once it's off the vine, it's over, right? You're really in a countdown situation. So you can imagine after an entire, after the labor intense portion of the day, which is harvesting cardamom, which are teeny tiny little berries, and then you have to hike it down the mountain and up the next mountain and around the bend. You want to sell it. You want to sell it while it's still at its height. You want to sell it because if you wait too long, you're going to get a lower grading, right? The grading scale, if you will. And so what happens is we go to this road, and there's all these people there, and they're willing to buy the cardamom from the different farmers and the different harvesters. They're not going to sell to them. They're waiting. And they're waiting. And we're like going, well, what are they waiting for? And O'Hara was telling us, they're waiting for the Choice Humanitarian truck, which is the doTERRA truck. They're waiting. Well, but it's getting stressful. It's taking longer and longer and longer. Well, it turns out another truck had intentionally blocked the Choice Humanitarian truck from coming down, so that the others could sell, because they thought, well, after a while, the farmer was pressured to sell to them. So what's the point here? Well, what they would do is they would rig the scales so that people were not being paid for the full weight. They would lie as to the grade so that they would not get paid the highest price. And then they would cheat them on the pay. So if you add all those up over and over and over again, those things add up to a lot of loss of money. And what the farmers knew was that if they waited for the choice truck, they got to test the scale to verify that it was correct. They were a part of the grading process, and they got cash that day to then go home to their family. Fair pay on time is huge. Fair being actually just a game changer. And it really was a game changer for these farmers. So to see that and to see, man, and you know, and you're thinking, man, the clock is ticking, right? But they knew they had to wait. They just wanted to wait. They were willing to risk it. That's how much it mattered. Capacity building, we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to the guiding principles, but this is all about facilitating that training and information sharing, creating cooperatives, you know, coming up with distillation innovations, and increasing the capacity. So one way again was like Sika Bay, this place that's up there on our trip, has right outside of it a wonderful drying facility for the cardamom. So having a drying facility up there, again, decrease that time, right? But also allows everyone to be able to participate in utilizing it. People in the cooperative. It didn't belong to any one person, okay? It was a little cooperative owned facility where people could dry their cardamom. And so it was a great resource to have, because otherwise you just had no choice, right? It was trash. Nothing was going to come of it. So little things like that increases the capacity, increases the ability for people to have a good experience and to make the most money, right? I mean, that's their goal. They need to make money. We need quality product. And this is where we all come together. And then community development, which is just huge, huge. The work of healing hands, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so those guiding principles that I was telling you about, look at all this turmeric. Oh my gosh, a mountain of turmeric is just amazing. All right, so here, generating jobs. So we're creating and sustaining, right, those jobs. This is hugely important for obvious reasons, right? I love this guy. He's like, yeah, man, I got my tea tree. These people like are the healthiest people in the world. Okay, so we're going to create and sustain those ethical, responsible employment in rural and underdeveloped countries, right, or communities. We're going to support marginalized workers and small-scale producers. And we're going to move people from an income insufficiency and poverty to being economically self-sufficient. That is huge. That is the guiding principle for generating jobs with co-impact sourcing. Okay. Then fair and on-time payments, like I just talked about, right? So when we talk about what's the agreed upon price, okay, this is literally, I cut this from the guiding principles from doTERRA here. What you see here is article 1 and 2 or example 1 and 2, or whatever you want to call it. Provision of socially acceptable remuneration in the local context, and in the local context is key, and which the producers themselves consider to be fair. They are a part of this conversation. No one is being intimidated. No one is being forced. People get to decide the price, working with what the going rate is. However, above and beyond that, right? Above and beyond that, in order to help people get to a place where within the local context, they are being treated fairly. And then I love this one. I'm not going to lie, equal pay for equal work by men and women. All right. Of course, in a lot of different cultures, this is sort of like, what? But, you know, this is an important thing. doTERRA is committed to the support of women in all cultures, in all communities. By having women be a part of our society, we really progress as humans, right? And there are so many circumstances in which it's just absolutely critical. And so I love that that is a part of the guiding principle, and that is something that is the goal, and it is what we're doing with co-impact sourcing. So then building the supplier capacity, right? Again, improving those farming techniques, the yields, the process efficiencies, and the productivity of the supply chain ecosystem. I tell you, when we were learning about the cardamom, you know, we were up there, and the people, you know, the farmers were telling us about how, I say farmers, okay, because it's just sort of a lack. I should say harvesters. I'm not really sure. These plants just grow all over the mountainside up there amongst a bunch of, it's not like fields of cardamom. There's no field. This is just mountainside. You're walking, there's a cardamom. You're walking, there's bushes. You're walking, there's a cardamom. You know, so what they were taught though, was how to like keep the brush the plant so that you don't have weeds, so that you reduce insects, right? So you get a higher yield. They were also taught how to not over harvest the plant, that you really only want to harvest the ones that as you sort of tickle your fingers underneath, it's like this weird little vine thing that they actually grow at the foot of the bush. It's quite fascinating. But you only want to harvest the ones that naturally fall off. If you pull the other ones off, they're not going to be of a grade that's worth anything, and you're wasting your harvest. You're decreasing your yield of usable plant, right? And this isn't just for, by the way, essential oil industry. Most of the cardamom that these people harvest, it goes to India as a spice for the spice trade, because they actually make a ton of money that way. It's a great way for them to, be fruitful. But doTERRA still there with Sika Bay and partnered with Choice Humanitarian is there helping with improving those farming techniques, right? And to improve the yields. And so it's just a really cool thing to see how we are getting the knowledge of the native plants. We are getting and gaining the knowledge of, the distillers and the people who that is their passion, that is their life, that is something they've just known about forever, and it's been passed down generation after generation. And we're able to give the knowledge that we have about, farming practices and techniques and how to really improve the productivity of any operation. And so it's just a really neat relationship there. The next one is those long-term relationships. doTERRA works really, really hard. We work really, really hard as a company. And I say we because I do view myself as a partner with doTERRA. I see the actions of the company as a reflection on me and vice versa. And so, I will use that interchangeably. I say we all the time because I view doTERRA as a part of who I am. It really is. I know that sounds crazy, but it really, really is. So the doTERRA finds appropriate participatory ways to involve its partners in decision-making processes and ensures that communication channels are open at all levels of the supply chain. This is huge. So this isn't like there's a boss man who everybody deals with. This is Jimmy who works over on the corner, or Jimmy who's a harvester. He has the same access to communication as everybody else. And so therefore, everyone is treated responsibly and everyone is treated with integrity and respect. And that is huge. Imagine the difference that makes in any work environment. So it's huge for me. Then that fair labor conditions. We certainly are only going to work with partners, so like Choice Humanitarian, who I've mentioned, who have fair labor conditions and that they're going to promote safe and healthy working environments. Obviously, we're not going to put up with any sort of exploitative practices, harassment, or discrimination. We're going to only work with organizations and with groups where they can prove that none of this type of behavior is going on. Hugely important for obvious reasons, right? Again, all a part of that co-impact sourcing. Promoting cooperatives. So in Somalia, for instance, one of the things with the frankincense industry was that so many of the different tribes, they really were not cooperating with one another. And so they lost a lot of power when it came against setting prices, being able to have a say in things. And when people would come to buy, they would just take advantage of people. They would take advantage. One guy would get X amount for his and another guy would get a different amount. And what it was is nobody could really raise the prices up because they were competing with one another. Well, when they came together, which was not an easy task, this took years in the making, with the help of doTERRA and the boots on the ground organizations, they were able to then have one voice, and nobody was able to manipulate them against one another in order for them to make a sale. And this was a huge, huge achievement. It has completely changed the frankincense industry in that region. So those cooperatives are something that just can never be underestimated, right? As far as like the repercussions, right? The rippling effect. It also helps to remove that middleman. It takes away their power, right? There's nothing you can do. You're not going to be able to get it from anybody for a different price. You're not going to be able to undersell or undercut anybody. So really, really important. In addition to that, they are able to have collectively owned facilities and equipment, which better enables them to have a higher yield, like we talked about before. But in addition to that, like a safer working environment. So I would definitely suggest going and checking out the videos that you can watch on the frankincense industry from doTERRA and co-impact sourcing there, and hearing from some of the women about the ability to work in an environment where they're sorting the frankincense and not being harassed, right, and not being abused. That's hugely important. In addition to that, we'll get into the community development that has happened in that area in just a minute. And it's just awesome, awesome work being done there. Now, ensuring that environmental stewardship, this is another guiding principle, right? We're going to work hard to support regenerative agricultural practices, right? So we're going to encourage practices that minimize that environmental impact and minimize the impact of waste streams on the environment, as well as the impact of overharvesting, right? That's that sustainability. And we're going to protect that native environment so that we're not doing anything that's going to cause an issue for that environment to continue to thrive, which of course, I mean, think about it, in the long run would hurt the plant that we're trying to, partner with, right? So something that is hugely important. This is a picture of a couple, I don't know if you can really even see them. This is the reserve in Hawaii, which is the largest reforestation project in Hawaii, done by doTERRA to support the industry of the Hawaiian sandalwood plant. So wonderful work being done there. I'm so excited to get to go and plant a sandalwood tree. We are due to go in January, and I just can't even tell you. This was like, I mean, I'm excited for Hawaii, but honestly, the thing I'm most excited about is getting to go and plant a sandalwood tree. That is my goal, and I can't wait to go. Okay, so the next thing is facilitating that community development. This is the Healing Hands Foundation. So if you're not familiar with the Healing Hands Foundation, again, go to source2u.com and check it out. Amazing organization, completely funded by people who make donations through doTERRA. I mean, through, like all of us, our wholesale customers, wellness advocates, we all donate. Every single dime goes to project work. doTERRA flips the bill for all administrative costs. So every dollar that you donate goes directly to a program. So for instance, I was talking about Somalia. We have built entire schools there, entire healthcare centers, and more are coming through the Healing Hands Foundation. So why is that such a big deal? Because before, in order to get healthcare, people would have to travel days to find the nearest healthcare and oftentimes wouldn't make it. Even kind of scarier is that children, in order to get education, people would come to these places and say, oh, I'll take your children and I'll put them in the schools in the city and they'll have this opportunity, they'll have that opportunity. And parents, of course, wanting more for their children and dreaming of a life for their children that would have that opportunity, would send their children off with these people. And this is how a lot of children end up in the human trafficking nightmare that is a very real part of our world. So by providing schools and healthcare in the area, there's no need to send our children away, right? There's also the ability for the girls to have an education as well as the boys, which in the area is nearly unheard of. However, has been agreed upon and is now happening in that region. And so that's a huge win. Healing Hands Foundation does work from everything from local, if there's a tornado that blows through the United States, we're in there helping to support people getting back on their feet with hygiene kits, all the way to, the earthquake in Nepal or the volcanoes in Guatemala, right there helping to help people rebuild homes, getting their lives together. In Haiti, helping families with the ability to, oh, sorry, my husband just kidding. In Haiti, helping families to be able to support their children and have a good, healthy family. It's just incredible. So go check out the Healing Hands Foundation. It's 10 years old this year. Amazing work being done there. This community development program takes a long time. This is something that is not done overnight. It's not like, oh, we're going to go here and build a school and slap doTERRA all over it. No, this is through partnership with on the ground partners, such as, like I'm going to talk about here. In fact, I'll go ahead and switch it, such as Choice Humanitarian, which is the one that I'm most familiar with. So it's really the only one I'm going to speak about because I'm not familiar with the others. However, I'm sure they are just as lovely. But what these people do is they go in and they actually live and work with the people for a long time. And through that process of becoming a part and a friend and creating relationships with people, they begin to learn what the needs of the community are. They put together sort of a committee made up of leaders or members of the community, not leaders necessarily in the political sense, but in just like, you know, there's those people in every community who kind of speak for and stand up for the people. So they work with those people. They also ensure that women are a part of every one of these committees. And they find out what is it that the community really needs. In Somalia, it was schools and healthcare. In Guatemala, it was the drying facilities, Sika Bay, and a school. You know, in different areas, there's different things. And that's what we do through co-impact sourcing. It's like we're not just doing all of that work to help the farmers and doing all of the work to help the distillers, right? We're doing also work to help the surrounding community. That is co-impact sourcing, guys. That is the magic. That is what lights me up. So I'm going to end here with this doTERRA sourcing map. I think this is just one of the coolest things to be able to look and see all of the variety of places where we are able to source our plants from, to distill, to make our gorgeous oils. These really are gifts of the earth. This whole entire network, this global plant network is just absolutely phenomenal. It's something that I'm just so proud to be a part of. This company is something I'm just over the moon to be a part of. But take a look at some of these. So these blue ones here are the ones that are really deep co-impact sourcing projects, right? These are the ones you're going to be able to go and do a whole bunch of research and learn so much about. You can do research and learn about all of them, obviously, right? Oh man, this green one right here, this black spruce, go watch that video. This guy will make you cry. What an inspiration is he. Also the Arbor Vitae video, that's going to be from right over here in the Pacific Northwest. If you're interested, you know, here's Guatemala down here in the blue. We just have, here's the Hawaiian Sandalwood Project that's happening out in Hawaii. Beautiful things happening all over the world because you guys are using your oils and because we are getting our oils through doTERRA, who is then sourcing them in such a way with in complete respect for the entire process and every person's role within it. You know, it takes all of these people and their knowledge and their dedication to what they do in order to bring us what we get to enjoy just in our homes every single day. It's absolutely beautiful. So with that, I thank you, and I hope that this was helpful in understanding a little bit more about co-impact sourcing. This is barely scratching the surface, honestly, but go check out those videos, go check out those different resources, because I think you will find some of the same things that kind of had my heart, right? Had me feeling really good about where my oils come from, you know, and the impact my work has on the world. So thank you so much. I hope you have a good night.